89.7 Power FM. We're on the phone right now with Aaron Gillespie. So many different ways that we could introduce this guy, but I think we'll just go ahead and say he's got a worship album just came out yesterday called Grace Through the Wandering. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Just driving the kid to school, living the American dream, wearing Target moccasins and sweatpants.
There you go.
That sounds just about the perfect way to start a morning, I think.
That's the only way to do it. So, yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for hanging out with us. But for listeners who aren't quite as familiar with Aaron Gillespie, I don't know why they wouldn't be, because you have done so much different stuff, from Under Oath to the Almost to some of your own solo worship stuff. And we played a ton of that here on the station. And so that's kind of my little intro there.
Well done. That's better than mine.
He did really good. I feel my head is inflated.
Confident, yes. Okay, so let's launch into... I know that you are just releasing a new worship album, and you'd previously had one, and then it looked like you were going to be kind of doing the worship leader thing full time, but right about that time, I guess you got the opportunity to play drums on the tour with Paramore as they started their self-titled thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had such a great time, number one, and it's just the most fun thing ever. But I had actually, so I'm from Florida, and the bridge version is I took a job in New York City leading worship. So I was just going to do the worship thing, and I was still going to make worship records and travel leading worship. But I had taken a worship leading job in Brooklyn, actually, and I had just gotten home from Mexico, and I was mowing the grass in my backyard in Florida, and my wife brings me this phone, and she says, I really want you to do this. And this was 2 years ago, and it was a 3-week Paramore tour. That's 2 years ago. It just never stopped. So it's one of those things that we really saw it like it was something that God really had us do, and I really knew that I needed to continue doing worship music, so I just approached them about it and said, hey, can I make a record literally while I'm on the road with you guys? Like we did it like in hotel rooms and rented studios for weird hodgepodge times and all of the above, and they completely consented, and it's just been an interesting couple years, to say the least.
That's awesome, because what's it been like traveling the world? I mean, that's got to be a different experience than what you've done with some of your previous bands, and then to be recording an album on top of that, like, what has that been like? Yeah,
well, Grace Through the Wandering was done in 15 countries, which was, I think, kind of added a different element to it than any record I've ever done in that sense. But I was very blessed and fortunate in Under Oath. We traveled every habitable continent.
That's awesome.
So this has been a little different in terms of that, but it's just been a really cool couple years, and God has just been so faithful through the whole thing. So yeah, we're pumped.
Did your family get to travel with you?
They did. Not full time. Again, I have a 3-year-old, and who's got a schedule. You know how kids are, and after a while they need like some sort of stability because he's grown up, so he has a full passport. He's 3.
Awesome.
After a while, you got to put him in preschool so they can learn to function with other humans.
I don't know what the deal is with that.
Yeah. My kid had only been around like music industry people until he was like 2.5 years old. So it was one of those things where or whoever's church we were at, you know what I mean, the nursery. Yeah. So we kind of felt like we needed to put him in school, and so he's in preschool now. And it's funny because we were coming out of the grocery store last week, and it's dark outside, and he goes, Dad. And I said, yeah. He goes, crescent. I'm like, what do you mean crescent? And I guess I looked up, and the moon was a crescent moon, and so I guess like that little stuff is so important, you know, to kids learn shapes and colors and all of that stuff. So it's been really rewarding to see him kind of begin to bloom in that way, but also hard that they're not with me as much as typical. So,
definitely.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, so as Paramore's finally getting ready to wrap up all of their self-titled era, so what does that mean for you now? Like, are you going to start focusing more on, you know, this album that just came out and some of your solo stuff?
Yeah,
do you have upcoming stuff with the Almost, or kind of what's your...
The last couple of years, the Almost has kind of taken a nap for a while, and just got to a place where I couldn't juggle all 3 things. You know, there's only so many hours in a day, and so I'm gonna tour this worship record, and just like I did Anthem Song, but it was interesting with Anthem Song because I was on the road playing drums, so I would literally have to fly on the weekends and on Sundays, and it was just a crazy life. So this will allow me to focus more on one thing or the other, as opposed to having to multitask so bad. Because I feel like when you multitask like that, you begin to lose, robustness in each different area. So for me, it's really, really important to be able to gracefully juggle, if you will. So.
Definitely. And the new album, it's called Grace Through the Wandering, which as soon as you announced that as a title, I was like, that is such a cool... the phrase itself to me is just beautiful, and I wonder if you'd share a little bit about where that title came from for you. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like... I always had this thing growing up, and I've been very fortunate to make records since I was 15, and I've always said I'll never have a concept album. I'll never have a concept album. And it's not a concept album, I'll say that, but the title is so conceptual to the whole thing, because for me, like, I've done so many different things in my life to be in my early 30s and to travel as much as I have and to make as many mistakes as I have and to burn as many bridges as I have, and also the good accomplishments too. But I feel like that's our story, like the life we live is our story, and I feel like when we accept Christ and when we accept forgiveness, you truly have to believe that grace blankets all of that. And I believe that it's such a common thread these days, especially in organized religion, especially in organized Christianity, to look at something and go, I just can't forgive myself. It's something we fight with so much. I just can't let this go. I just can't say, I trust you, God, in this circumstance. I trust you for the gamut, for the whole blanket, making it a blanket statement. So for me, it was this collection of songs that I felt like, for me, really helped me to do that in my own life, just to cover the whole thing with grace, with His grace. So that's sort of the thing. So it's a conceptual thing, but it's not conceptual, so don't call it a concept, okay?
Now, I was kind of curious, because you're very intentional about referring to this album and the last couple as worship albums. But it's not that the stuff you've done before hasn't been worshipful. I mean, there was definitely some stuff with The Almost and with Under Oath that was very worshipful. But I was wondering, what to you makes this a worship album as opposed to maybe The Fear Inside Our Bones?
For me, it's the placement of my heart and kind of where I focus my intention, I guess. And then lyrically, this one's obviously starkly worship music.
Yeah.
Lyrically, but for me, it's all about where you focus your intention. You know what I mean? And I guess that's why I like to put those names on it. I want people to know this is what it is. And it would be easy, I guess, for me to put it out there and say this is an Aaron Gillespie record.
Yeah.
It's just a record, buy it. But then I feel like it's almost like misleading people in a sense. You know what I mean? I guess for me, it's just calling it what it is. Calling the grass grass.
And it does, stylistically, it also really departs from the earlier stuff you've done. It's definitely not quite as heavy, not quite as aggressive, but still very much you. Was that kind of an intentional, like, I'm going to approach this different? Lyrically, it's definitely different, but even musically, was that an intentional decision?
Yes and no. To be not as heavy, yes, but the kind of angular, sideways area in which the songs are approached, come from the fact that me and another guy made the record on a laptop in hotel rooms. So we had one acoustic guitar, one microphone, a couple keyboards, and then we rented a studio for one day to record the drums. So it was the kind of thing where we had to invent the record. You know what I mean? It wasn't like your traditional thing where you get in the studio, there's a drum set up, there's a bass amp, there's a bunch of guitars, there's a guy behind the glass, and you make a record like we all know how to make records. It was very strange. You know what I mean? We had to do the weirdest stuff to get, for instance, every room sounds different. You go to record a vocal, and we were having the hardest time with continuity because you get somewhere and we record a vocal and it sounded totally different than the last one.
I'll believe it.
So we found a way that I would sit with my feet up on an ottoman in a hotel chair, and then I would take the comforter off the bed and cover myself with the comforter and hold a microphone. So that's the way we recorded all the vocals for the record, because it was the only way for us to send mixes out and the mixer go, oh, that sounds great. It's that's continuity with the rest of the record. It was a mess, to be honest.
That's awesome.
I think that's why it has such a different feel than anything else, because I've never made a record like that.
Well, I think that the concluding result has been really, really great. We're really excited about the album and the new sound and everything. So whatever craziness went into it, Congratulations. I think it worked really well.
Just record the rest of your albums under a comforter, and it'll be all good.
It was awful. I would sit there under that comforter for like 3 hours a day and then give it back to my engineer, who also plays with us in Paramore. And then he would have to sleep under the sweaty comforter that I sang under for 4 hours.
That is so cool.
Terrible.
Awesome. Well, once again, we are on the phone with Aaron Gillespie. The new worship album, Grace Through the Wandering, came out yesterday. And Aaron, we're so glad that you took the time to get in touch with us. What's the best way folks can get in touch with you?
Just AaronGillespie.com, or I guess I have a Facebook. I have an artist page, but I've never gotten into to using it, so I don't know anything about it. But AaronGillespie.com or Facebook, I suppose. Yeah.
Awesome.
That is Aaron at his best being a dad.
There you go.
We'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us today.
You guys have a great morning.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.